Hi everybody, this story is called Thorpey. Chapter 1. He has to be kidding. Why has Uncle Dan given me a goldfish? Have I ever said how much I want a goldfish? Have I ever said how cool it would be to have a goldfish for a pet? No, I haven't. Not once. Yet here is a goldfish. It swims around its glass tank, swishing its tail and staring at me with black, googly eyes. My uncle's eyes are fixed on me too. Wow, thanks, Uncle Dan, I say, as if a fish is the best present I could ever get. It's not an ordinary goldfish, Uncle Dan says. It's not? I peer at it. It is big, but does that make it extraordinary? It's a comet, my uncle says. Does that mean it's fast? I ask. The fastest. See its long body and strong tail? This fish is a super swimmer. Like me, cries my little sister Annie. This is not true. Annie has just started learning to swim. The goldfish flicks its tail and does a flashy dive. Then it zooms to the top of the tank again. Show off, I say. The goldfish winks at me. Or is it just a blink? Uncle Dan says when he gets too big for this tank, we'll put a pool in the backyard. Annie claps her hands. What will you call him? My uncle asks me. Thorpey, I say. What else can I call a super swimmer? Chapter 2. Okay, maybe goldfish aren't so boring. True, a fish isn't as much fun as a dog. You can't take it for walks. It won't chase a ball, and if you throw a stick, you'll wait a long time for a fish to fetch it. True, a fish won't cuddle on your lap like a cat, and you can't pat a fish, but that doesn't mean they make boring pets. Goldfish are quite smart. Take Thorpey. I've only had him a week, but he knows who I am. He sees me if I wave from across the room. When he sees my face on the other side of the glass, he gets very excited. He swims to and fro. He shoots to the top of the tank and splashes the water with his tail. He only does this for me. When I put my face right up next to the tank, he kisses me through the glass. Well, that's what it looks like. I'm the most important person in his world, you see. That's because I feed him twice a day, when I get up and before I go to bed. First, I soak the fish flakes in a little bit of water from his tank. If I don't do this, the dry flakes will expand in his tummy, and that's not good for fish. Thorpey watches me. When I sprinkle the flakes in the tank, he races up and gobbles them down. It's always fun to watch him eating. His mouth makes a soft plop, plop sound as it opens and closes. I play him music. Mum has a CD called Water Music, and he likes that, but he goes for anything with a good beat. He's getting very big and strong. Is there a Goldfish Olympics? Thorpey would win a gold medal for sure. Chapter 3. What is Thorpey doing? Is there something wrong? Instead of swimming around, he stays in one spot. He floats on his back. He leans to one side. It's not like him at all. I tap on the glass. Is he sick? His fins are pointing down, not up. Maybe it's the water, or the air, or the temperature. Lots of things can go wrong with goldfish. There's even a goldfish vet in the yellow pages. I put water music on. He swishes his tail a bit. Come on, Thorpey. I stick the tip of my little finger in the water and wiggle it about. Maybe he just wants to take it easy this morning. Champions can burn out. I tap on the glass again. Brekkie! I sprinkle some moist flakes on the water. He swims up and gobbles them down. At least he's eating. He won't die of hunger. I go to the kitchen for my own breakfast. Mum is trying to get Annie to eat her cornflakes. No! Annie yells, banging her spoon down. If you don't eat, you won't grow up big and strong, Mum says. You'll stay in the baby swim class, I tell her. Annie picks up her spoon and eats. I check on Thorpey before I go to school. Poor Thorpey, he doesn't look very healthy. He's on the bottom of the tank again. See you later, champ, I say, trying to sound cheerful. Have a nice rest, and you'll feel better. But I'm worried. A fish that doesn't swim is like a clock that doesn't tick. Chapter 4. Is the water clean? Uncle Dan asks. Of course. Is he eating? No problem there, I say. Good, Uncle Dan says. A goldfish that doesn't eat is a sick goldfish. Do you soak the flakes first? Always. What's his poop looks like? What should it look like, I ask. Healthy poop comes out in little chunks. Unhealthy poop looks a bit of long string. Chunks, I say. So that's all right. How often do you feed him? Uncle Dan asks. In the morning and before I go to bed. A goldfish that eats too much can turn into a sick goldfish. And comet fish are very greedy. Cut the feeds to 1 a day. This makes sense. You don't feel like running around the oval after you've eaten a big lunch, do you? I thank Uncle Dan and hang up the phone. I walk into my bedroom and put my face up to the glass of the fish tank. Hi, Thorpey. How's tricks? Thorpey's happy to see me, I can tell. He's at the bottom of the tank again, but he swims over. His tail waves, hello. He peers at me through the glass. His eyes are bright. His sleek red gold body shines. He thinks I'm going to feed him. I shake my head. Sorry, Thorpey, but I fed you this morning. And I walk out of the room. I can feel him watching me every step of the way. Chapter 5. It's hard being a good pet owner. It would be so easy to give in. When I feed him in the morning, he gulps down his food. Slow down, I say. That's all you're going to get for the next 24 hours. He looks at me with his googly eyes, begging for more. He must be very hungry. I feel mean, but I have to say no. It's been 2 weeks now, but he's not getting thinner. He's getting fatter. And he's not swimming like he used to. How can a fish eat less but get bigger? I think about this as Mum drives Annie and me to the pool for our swimming lessons. Annie is in the water babies. I'm in the dolphins. I'm hungry, Annie whines. Mum says that after class we'll go to the mall and have hamburgers and fries. We do this every week. Hungry now, Annie says. Want burger now. You can't eat and then swim, Mum says. You'll sink to the bottom of the pool. Like Thorpey, Annie says. Mum laughs, but I don't. It's not funny. He's on a diet, I say, but it's not working. Mum says her diets never work either. Thorpey getting big, 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 cries Annie. I tell her to shut up. Mum says, don't tell your little sister to shut up. I am worried about my pet and this makes me mean. I tell Annie I am sorry. At the pool I watch the babies' class. Annie kicks, swallows some water and begins to panic. She goes under and Mum has to rescue her. The swimming teacher slips a pair of floaties on her arms. Now you'll be able to swim, she says. And Annie does. The floaties lift her up in the water. She swims like a fish. After the class, we go to the mall and have hamburgers and fries. I can't stop thinking about poor, hungry Thorpey. Chapter 6. Oh no! When I get home from school today, Thorpey's on the bottom of the tank. He's not moving. His comet tail is still. He must be dead. Or maybe he's just asleep. I tap on the glass. Wakey, wakey! Thorpey lifts his head as if to say, what? I sprinkle a few shreds of lettuce on the water. He's been fed once today, but it's a test. And yes, he's taken off, but he's not exactly racing. And after he gobbles the lettuce, he drifts around the tank as if he's run out of puff. He even floats upside down. Then he goes to the bottom of the tank again. The super swimmer has turned into a super sinker. I can't bear to watch. I ring Uncle Dan and tell him the sad news. As a comet fish, he's a bit of a flop, isn't he? My uncle says. Shall I buy you another one? I tell him no. I like Thorpey. There's no poop in the tank, I say. That's not good, is it? Why don't you stop feeding him for a few days and see what happens? I'm shocked. Starve Thorpey? I can't do that. Uncle Dan says the goldfish can go a week without food. Let him get a bit hungry. It might do the trick. He might die too, I point out. No, comet fish are tough. He'll live, Uncle Dan says, but maybe he just won't swim like he used to. That's not living, I think. Not for a comet fish. Chapter 7. I am having a dream. Annie is in the pool eating a hamburger. A big fish swims up and gobbles the burger. Then he gobbles up Annie. I wake up, my heart racing. I look over at Thorpey. He blinks at me. Annie! I call out. I know it's silly, but I want to see her. She toddles in. What? She is eating a piece of toast. She seems fine. Nothing, I say. I get out of bed and go to the bathroom. When I come back, Annie is kneeling on my chair, feeding Thorpey pieces of toast. Annie, I yell, what are you doing? Thorpey hungry, Annie says. He can't eat toast. Yes, can. Look. I mean, he's not allowed to eat. Annie shakes her head. If he doesn't eat, he won't grow big and strong. I look at her. I remember how happy she was in the car. Thorpey getting big. Annie, I say, do you feed Thorpey when I'm at school? She nods. What do you feed him? She points to the jar of fish flakes. Do you make them wet first? She shakes her head. I look at Thorpey's fat tummy. Oh no. I look at the toast. What else do you feed him? Cornflakes and fruit and veggies, Annie says. No wonder my comet fish is fat. He's big all right, I say. Big enough for a pool? Annie asks, her eyes alight. A pool? A swimming pool in the backyard. Uncle Dan said he'll give us a pool when Thorpey gets big. I stare at her. A pond, a fish pond, not a swimming pool, not like the one at the mall. Annie sticks out her bottom lip. He said pool. So that's why Annie has been feeding Thorpey, to get a swimming pool. How can I be angry with her? I ring Uncle Dan and tell him. He laughs and laughs. He says the problem is Thorpey's swim bladder. A swim bladder is full of air and it helps fish to balance, a bit like Annie's floaties. If there's too much food in the tummy, the bladder is squashed and it doesn't work. The fish can't swim properly. No food for 3 days, says Uncle Dan. Then little bits of green peas. Green peas? Boiled, skinned and mashed, says Uncle Dan. That'll fix him. And it does. By the end of the week, Thorpey is pooping again. He's flicking his tail and racing around his tank like a real comet. He's happy again. On ya, champ, I say, grinning at him through the glass. Did someone call you a flop? He winks at me. He really does.